we now have 2 weeks in the books to overreact to. And let me just say that I know less about more teams after week 2 than I did going into week 2. I feel very confident about very few teams in either direction. So before we talk about your poll and this coming week's game, what are your impressions? What stands out to you after the second week?
Killingly as good as advertised. And like you, I really don't know anything about anybody because, mostly schedule related. The teams that are doing well, most of them, who have they played anybody good? Like I think we're going to find out a lot about Fitch this week.
Yes.
On the road, Double L school. Amity's pretty good. They've returned quite a few.
So that
players.
that is on the road. So
yes.
Fitch left yesterday.
Right. But hey, that's part of the scheduling alliance. We'll see.
So they go out of conference, then they come back next week with East Lyme. I think that's a good back-to-back weeks to give us a little idea about them. Killingly's got a 2-0 team with a good reputation. Jonathan Law this week. We think that they are as a top team in the state. These are not games that they're supposed to be challenged by.
But that one Friday, that's an hour and a half on the bus. Law is pretty good. That might be one of those closer than the experts think games.
Looking ahead to the sort of heart of their schedule with Massick, and that's makes sense. I think these out of conference games, the non-aligned, right? You can't tell anything week 1. Now we're starting to get a little bit better picture. Yes to Fitch, yes to Killingly. We'll see what each of them does. I think the game that the other one that we mentioned on earlier was the Bacon Academy Wyndham game. Will help me from a smaller school idea. Where is Bacon really after 2 good wins? Back to Killingly for a second. Bishop Hendricken is definitely as good as advertised. Mm-hmm. They won easily last week, so it's funny. You think you know something, and then you realize, oh, maybe that team wasn't as good as we thought, or maybe they're better than we thought. So, what is the team? I'll put you on the spot. The team in the ECC that is going to sort of continue to, who's going to emerge at the end of the year as the team that no one saw coming?
Ledyard, probably. I mean, as we talked about with Coach Mike on the field last week after the game, maybe we should have seen them coming. Ledyard is an elite ECC program, always has been, but I don't think we thought much of them coming in, and it wasn't that they beat NFA last week. It was the way they beat them. I mean, they scored 43 points and didn't. Not only didn't they throw a pass, they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And in case there's something to be said for running between the tackles, and there's just nothing else there's nothing that the defense can do.
Yeah, I think there's something particularly frustrating about. It's one thing to know a team's running. It's another thing to know that who's getting the ball, and you still can't. You can't do a lot to stop it.
Now, I thought NFA could have outscored them last week. Moved the ball all night. Thought they got a little pass happy at times. The more they run the ball, the more the passing game is going to be effective. And Driscoll's got an arm.
So
he's got an arm.
That's a good segue, Mike. So this week, game day live from your alma mater, Xavier High School, Middletown, Connecticut, NFA at Xavier. NFA coming in at 0-2 and staring at a traditional state powerhouse. Not, granted, it's been a few years since they can say that they are, but I mean, there's no team, and the coach is one of the most reputable coaches in state history. So I mean, this is not an easy game for NFA.
No. Sean Marinan, the Xavier coach, 5 state championships. Excellent coach. But he's got some work to do there. You know, they haven't been good in a while now. Always play a really hard schedule. So has NFA so far, though, with Trumbull and Ledyard. Again, I would like to see NFA run the ball, and then this is where I think they're going to have trouble. If Ledyard can go between the tackles on you, Xavier's probably going to do it too.
So I think for those of you out there who remember, this actually is a pretty good ECC out-of-conference rivalry. We've done Xavier and NFA multiple times. When Xavier was good, going back to Jamal Davis trying to create a great out-of-conference schedule for NFA. We've seen NFA Xavier play some really good games.
State championship game in 13 or 14 case when Marcus Outlaw was at NFA, and at that time, one of my high school classmates was the assistant principal at Xavier, and he said to me after the game that Xavier won, and he said that they were at that time getting students from 66 different towns. Oh, because it's right in the middle of the state. And I remember writing something that says, and we think NFA has this great advantage in this end of the state because they have 2,000 kids, 66 different towns.
To be clear, there's only 169 towns in the state of Connecticut, so that's like 40%. So that's remarkable. What is Xavier's sort of, if you're going to give them a profile going into this one, what do you expect from Xavier?
I would say buttoned up, 3 in a cloud, see if you can stop us.
NFA wants to play this game in the high 20s, low 30s, or does...
well, I don't know. Until NFA, it was fun. It was very strange last week because NFA's defense held Trumbull to 12. They lost 12-3, and I thought that's pretty good. And then last week they no-showed. So I don't know. I really don't know which team's gonna be there tomorrow.
One thing I do know is I won't be there. The great Joe D will be filling in for me on Friday night, so an extra reason to tune in to see the great play-by-play. And I think it's a game befitting him as well because it is. I mean, Friday night at Xavier should be a really good. One thing you've written about recently, and I think we've seen, the crowds so far this year have been outstanding. Kind of expected it at Killingly week 1, and I, to some respects, expected it at Stonington because Waterford draws a lot, and Stonington's got a very rabid base as well. Be interested to see what this week looks like. Does NFA travel well to Xavier, and what does Xavier put in the stands? Yeah,
and the other one case, I was stunned at Ledyard last Thursday night had over 2,000.
Wow.
On a Thursday.
I love that. I mean, we've talked. We saw a renaissance in basketball during the Dev Mikey era, where the crowds were so big, not just Waterford, East Lyme, but New London, Waterford, East Lyme, Ledyard in the small right. Everybody sold out, and then it dropped off. The interest is still there, but the crowds kind of came back down a little bit. We're seeing a football renaissance right now in the early going from a crowd perspective. We we remember it was only a year or two ago where we said, where is everybody? There's no one here on a Friday night. Where else are you going to be? Now, Killingly, I mean, good luck going to the hardware store at 6:00 on a Friday night because no one's going to be there. They're all, it's Killingly. But it's great to see the other places do that. So, do you think this week, do you expect a big crowd at Xavier?
Yeah. Middletown people always go. That was case. I grew up. It was Palmer Field on a Friday night. That was it right there. For me, that was like the NFL. Yeah. I suspect that'll be good. It's interesting though. I think the Thursday night crowd was big last week because that was the only game. So everybody wants to go to one place. There's so many Friday night games now that I think Friday crowds might be a little bit down.
So you had a vote again this coming week for the poll. Were there any big changes in your top?
No, you could see on the screen. The only big change was number 15. I just came away really impressed with that team last week.
So a couple things that I'm going to point out here. Number one is that is Ledyard getting votes, not Fitch, which goes right in the face of my power rankings. I mean, that's a direct shot on my power rankings. I didn't realize that. I mean, that right there is Mike DeMauro scoffing at my power. He said, Case, listen, I'm the veteran. I've been doing this a lot longer than you. Take your power rankings and stay in your lane. Ledyard, although I agree that's a good one.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I think the teams Ledyard beat, Foreign and NFA, are better than the teams Fitch has beaten. So
I would agree with that. The one that stands out for me right there, looking at it, is number 4. Because for those of you that don't know, Killingly's path to a state championship would run through Daniel Hand in theory as that other team. And there's a chance, right, that they could finish the regular season at, 2-3 in the poll, something like that, and go into a state championship game as, and then if one of them goes undefeated having beaten the other, imagine, if you will, just for the fun of putting this thing way out there, Killingly finishes undefeated in the regular season. That means they beat Massac as well. That means they beat Law. They beat Bishop Hendrick. And so does Hand. And they're at the 2-3. And the winner of that game finishes undefeated and having, it makes a case for that number 1 slot.
Well, and so at the beginning of the year, I wrote something about how I thought, even though their enrollment says Hand should be in double S, their tradition and the fact that they were in the M playoffs last year, I thought that was too low for them. And I kept hearing, well, they're going to be down. They're going to be down. Well, they go out and win at St. Joe's in week 1. So I think they were, to begin the year, went from also receiving votes. Now they're number 4. And you could have the cachet of a Hand Killingly game could be the thing that gets Killingly to number 1 at the end.
Looking at your poll, another thing that stands out to me is number 12. Week 1, we saw Seymour beat Griswold, and we questioned maybe Griswold's not so good. Then they go out and they thump Montville in week 2. Now this week, Griswold Ledyard, we're going to find out, I think, a little bit more about Griswold.
I have Seymour there because they beat Ansonia last week, and Ansonia opened the season beating Bloomfield on the road. So I thought that was a really good win for them. Yeah.
So Seymour might be. So again, that loss to Seymour may not look like such a bad loss. They might be really good.
But that's Ledyard had a hard time defending the pass.
They're going to see a lot of it.
Griswold can throw.
The Mills to Cool Waters is, and you got Aiden Cutter. That's a very good
team.
Yep. Looking also through your poll, a lot of the same faces, but number 13 jumps out, West Haven, because we're going to have them playing a local team. They're playing Fitch, which is going to be a big game.
Yeah, that looks like Fitch could be in there by the time that game is played. And West Haven lost its coach just before the season started. No one thought they were going to be any good. They had lost some players 2-0, just like always.
Number 14, Berlin. We saw what they did to New London week 1. Then New London rebounds, wins a game. New London this week, Stonington. Someone's going to have to, see in that game. That's a chance. If you're Stonington, you're circling. This is a chance to show everybody that you're better than the 0-2. And New London's trying to get wins wherever they can grab them. And that Berlin team, obviously pretty good. The rest of your 15, Mike, is like a lot of the same faces, right? New Canaan and Greenwich and Darien and Windsor, St. Joe's, Brookfield, Staples. I mean, I feel like it's the same old faces, but those programs, they're the ones that run the state.
The Bunnell is in there because they beat Massac last week. Our guy Ty.
I was going to say Bunnell's in there because we love their coach.
Ty Jenkins, yeah.
That's a good win.
That's a great win for them. So we just I moved them in and Massac out.
So that's Mike DeMoro's ballot for the top teams in the state of Connecticut. This week, of course, we are at NFA at Xavier. So Middletown, the great Joe D will be taking over for me. You have written a few things over the past few weeks that I think have sparked some good debate. One of them was, is the ECC weighing Killingly down? But maybe at the end of this year that, the Waterford, the Fitch, maybe not. Maybe in outside of perhaps one conference, there is no conference that gives you more than 2 or 3 teams. And so, if Waterford and Fitch can be better, and then we think maybe they are right now and compete against Killingly, then when they go Bishop Hendricken, Jonathan Law, Massac out of conference, maybe it doesn't.
And then hand at the end.
Hand at the end. So maybe it is enough of a schedule for them.
Yeah, and I think, remember, they're the defending champ. They have respect throughout the state. I think the rest of the state thinks that league stinks, but they're good.
Yeah, and there's a point where you have to give a little bit of credit to the league.
Yeah.
This year could be 5 more teams in the playoffs out of the
great.
ECC again. So we are tomorrow night, Friday night, under the lights at Xavier High School, NFA and Xavier, and then the following week we get a chance to see 2 locals with Fitch and East Lyme. That should help us get a little bit more of a handle on the ECC. As always, after the game next week, you'll have a chance to completely overreact to my power rankings. And I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you in the comments. Who do you think the premier team in the state of Connecticut is? Who do you think could challenge Killingly? Do you think anything that you think, actually? Throw your opinions out there. That's what this is for. Let us know what you are thinking. As always, he is the great Mike DeMoro. I am the mere Casey O'Neill. The guy you can't see is the legendary Peter Wappy. We're always happy to talk a little ECC with you.